There comes a point in a man's life when he begins to understand that not everything needs to be announced, not every thought needs to be explained, and not every ambition needs to be placed in front of the world before it has been earned in private. At first, this feels strange because the world teaches you to be loud. It teaches you to speak before you are ready, to display before you have built anything, to share the dream before you have developed the strength required to carry it. Everywhere you look, people are performing a version of progress. They are talking about what they are going to do, showing people the person they are trying to become, asking for recognition before the work has had time to shape them. And because everyone is making noise, silence begins to look like weakness. But silence is not weakness. Silence is the beginning of control. It is the moment when you stop leaking your energy into every room that wants a piece of you. It is the moment when you no longer need to convince people that you are changing because you have finally become serious enough to change without being seen. It is the decision to stop giving your future away through words and start protecting it through discipline. There is a kind of rebellion in this. Not the loud kind, not the kind that needs attention, applause, or dramatic gestures. It is a quiet rebellion, the kind that happens when you wake up and realize that your life has been weakened by too much explanation, too much reaction, too much desire to be understood by people who are not building what you are building. The quiet person is often underestimated because he does not make the room uncomfortable with his ambition. He does not try to dominate conversations. He does not tell everyone what he is planning. He does not rush to defend himself every time someone misunderstands him. He does not waste precious mental strength trying to correct every opinion, answer every criticism, or prove every point. He learns something most people never learn. That power does not always need to speak. Sometimes power is the ability to stay still when your ego wants to move. Sometimes power is the ability to remain silent when your pride wants to explain. Sometimes power is the ability to keep working when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when no one is impressed, and when no one has any idea how much you are actually changing. This is where quiet discipline begins, not in the dramatic moments. Not in the moments when music is loud and motivation is high, not when you feel inspired and the whole future seems clear, but in the ordinary, private, unseen moments when you do what needs to be done without needing the feeling to be perfect. Because motivation is loud, it arrives with emotion, it makes promises, it fills your mind with images of the person you could become. It gives you a rush, and for a moment that rush feels like transformation. But then the feeling fades, the day becomes ordinary again, the work becomes repetitive again, and the mind begins searching for a way out. Discipline is different. Discipline is quieter. It does not ask whether you feel ready. It does not need the room to understand. It does not wait for the right mood, the right weather, the right energy, or the right version of yourself. Discipline simply returns to the task. It returns to the page. It returns to the gym. It returns to the work. It returns to the promise you made when nobody was listening. That is why quiet discipline is dangerous. Not dangerous to other people, but dangerous to the old version of you. Dangerous to your excuses. Dangerous to your addiction to comfort. Dangerous to the part of your mind that wants progress without pressure, reward without repetition, identity without evidence. Every day you act in silence, you are casting a vote for a new identity. You are telling yourself, not through words, but through action, that you are no longer the person who needs to be pushed by emotion. You are no longer the person who has to announce the plan in order to feel like progress has begun. You are no longer the person who needs outside attention to make the work feel real. You are becoming the kind of person who can work in the dark. And the person who can work in the dark becomes very difficult to defeat, because when you stop announcing everything, you stop wasting the energy that should have gone into execution. You stop confusing the pleasure of being admired with the reality of being improved. You stop taking the cheap reward of being congratulated for something you have not yet finished. You stop letting other people's opinions enter the sacred space where your future is still being formed. This is one of the hidden advantages of privacy. When you keep your goals private, they remain alive inside you. They still create pressure. They still demand action. They still remind you that nothing has been proven yet. But when you speak too early, when you tell everyone what you are about to become, part of the mind relaxes. It receives a small reward before the work has been completed. The dream becomes socially real before it becomes physically real, and that can become dangerous because the mind can mistake talking for doing. It can mistake applause for achievement. It can mistake being seen as committed for actually being committed. And that is why the quiet path is often stronger. The quiet path keeps the pressure where it belongs. It keeps the promise inside your chest. It forces you to earn the right to speak through results. It teaches you to become before you announce. It teaches you that your transformation does not need witnesses in order to be valid. There is a deep strength in building without telling everyone what you are building. There is a deep strength in becoming more focused without explaining why. There is a deep strength in letting people believe you are the same, while quietly removing the habits, distractions, and weaknesses that once controlled you. At first, nobody notices. And that is good, because when nobody notices, nobody interferes. When nobody notices, nobody gives you shallow praise that weakens the hunger. When nobody notices, nobody challenges the new identity before it has roots. You get to build quietly. You get to fail quietly. You get to correct quietly. You get to develop strength without the pressure of performing strength. This is where most people lose themselves. They want to be seen becoming strong more than they want to become strong. They want the identity before the evidence. They want the world to reflect back a version of them they have not yet earned. So they talk, they post, they explain, they announce, they gather attention around a future they have not built. But quiet discipline does the opposite. It removes the performance, it removes the audience, it removes the noise. And once the noise is gone, you are left with the only question that matters. Are you actually willing to do the work? Not talk about the work, not imagine the work, not prepare forever for the work, not explain to people how serious you are about the work, but actually sit down, close the door, remove the distraction, and enter the long silent hours where your future is shaped. This is where deep work begins. Deep work is not glamorous. It is often lonely. It is often repetitive. It does not give you constant emotional rewards. It does not always feel exciting while it is happening, but it is one of the few places where a person can still become rare. In a world where attention is being pulled apart by endless noise, the ability to focus without interruption becomes a form of power. Most people cannot stay with one thing anymore. Their mind has been trained to escape. The moment the work becomes difficult, they reach for the phone. The moment silence becomes uncomfortable, they look for stimulation. The moment they feel friction, they search for relief. And every time they do this, they teach the mind that discomfort is something to run from. But the quiet, disciplined person trains differently. He does not treat discomfort as a signal to escape. He treats it as the entrance. He understands that the work only begins to change him when it stops entertaining him. He understands that focus is not just a productivity tool, but a form of self-respect. He understands that every time he chooses the hard task over the easy distraction, he is strengthening the part of himself that must lead. This is why silence matters. Silence gives you space to hear the excuses before you obey them. Silence gives you enough distance from your impulses to see them clearly. Silence allows you to notice when you are about to abandon the work, not because the work is wrong, but because the old self is frightened by the pressure of becoming new. The world will not give you this silence. You have to create it. You have to protect it. You have to become almost ruthless about what you allow into your mind, because your attention is not unlimited. Every argument you enter, every useless opinion you chase, every digital distraction you feed, every emotional reaction you indulge, takes something from the work you say matters most. A person does not fall apart all at once. He usually falls apart through tiny leaks of attention. A little scrolling, a little complaining, a little reacting, a little explaining, a little comparing, a little worrying about people who are not even thinking deeply about him. And by the time he sits down to build his life, the strongest part of his mind has already been spent on nothing. Quiet discipline closes those leaks. It says, not every battle deserves my energy. Not every opinion deserves my response. Not every person deserves access to my plan. Not every impulse deserves obedience. Not every emotion deserves control over my day. This is not coldness. This is not arrogance. This is not pretending to be above the world. It is simply the understanding that a life is built with energy, and energy must be guarded. A person who cannot guard his energy cannot guard his future. There will be times when people misunderstand your silence. They may think you have given up. They may think you have nothing to say. They may think you are not moving because they cannot see the movement happening beneath the surface. Let them think that. Let them underestimate you. There is freedom in being underestimated, because when people stop watching closely, you can work without resistance. You do not need to correct the image they have of you. You do not need to tell them that you are changing. You do not need to explain why you have become less available, less reactive, less interested in noise, less willing to spend your life proving yourself in conversations that do not move you forward. The work will explain you later. For now, your responsibility is to remain faithful to the process. Wake up and do the small thing, then do it again tomorrow. Build the habit so quietly that it becomes part of your identity before anyone has a chance to praise it. Read when you said you would read. Train when you said you would train. Work when you said you would work. Practice when nobody sees the practice. Study when nobody rewards the studying. Return to the task after a bad day. Return to the task after a missed day. Return to the task when the mind says it does not matter, because it does matter. The small things are not small when they are repeated long enough. They become evidence, and evidence becomes identity. Every quiet repetition tells your mind, this is who we are now. Every private act of discipline creates a deeper belief, not the fragile belief that comes from positive thinking, but the strong belief that comes from proof. You do not become disciplined because you say you are disciplined. You become disciplined because you keep promises when there is no audience. That is the difference between image and identity. Image needs attention. Identity needs evidence. Image wants to be seen immediately. Identity is willing to be formed slowly. Image is loud because it is insecure. Identity can be quiet because it has nothing to prove. And this is why your quiet discipline becomes your greatest weapon. It changes the battlefield. You are no longer fighting people. You are no longer fighting opinions. You are no longer fighting for attention. You are fighting the only battle that actually determines your future, the battle between the old self and the self you are trying to build. The old self will not disappear just because you are inspired. It will return through comfort. It will return through distraction. It will return through the need to be praised. It will return through the desire to explain yourself. It will return through the temptation to speak too soon And every time it returns, silence gives you a moment to choose. That moment is everything. In that moment, you can react or you can redirect, you can speak or you can build, you can chase approval or you can return to the work. You can announce the future or you can earn it. You can become another person addicted to noise, or you can become the rare person who knows how to move without being seen. Do not underestimate the power of moving without being seen. The seed does not make noise under the soil. The foundation does not ask for applause before the building rises. The roots do not explain themselves to the branches. The deepest work is often invisible at first, because invisible work is what makes visible success possible. So let the world be loud. Let people perform. Let them explain everything they are about to do. Let them chase the feeling of progress. Let them confuse attention with achievement. You choose something different. Choose the quiet room. Choose the early hour. Choose the difficult repetition. Choose the private standard. Choose the calm face. Choose the closed mouth. Choose the focused mind. Choose the discipline that does not need to be seen in order to be real. And when the pressure rises, stay with it. When the urge to announce appears, hold it inside and turn it into action. When the urge to react appears, hold your position and keep your peace. When the work becomes boring, continue. When the results are slow, continue. When nobody notices, continue. Because the longer you can continue without applause, the more dangerous your discipline becomes. One day the results will surface, not because you force people to notice, but because quiet consistency eventually becomes impossible to ignore. The body changes, the mind changes, the work improves, the standards rise, the old weaknesses lose their grip. The person who once needed to be seen slowly becomes the person whose presence is felt without effort. And when that day comes, you will understand why silence was never empty. It was where you were gathering yourself. It was where you were protecting your energy. It was where you were becoming someone who no longer needed noise to feel powerful. The silent rebellion is not against the world. It is against the part of you that needed the world's permission. It is against the part of you that talked more than it built. It is against the part of you that wanted recognition before transformation. It is against the part of you that confused being understood with being strong. From this point forward, build differently. Do not announce the war before you have built the army. Do not explain the vision before you have developed the discipline to carry it. Do not waste your strength trying to look serious. Become serious. Become quiet. Become consistent. And let the life you build in silence become louder than anything you could have ever said.